Hey guys, Muck here, pro staff with Vortex Canada. I recently did an in-store event for Vortex, and I got to talk to lots of people. And one thing in particular that people were talking about was choosing the right binocular. As you know, at this time of the year when you're in the field, you need good optics. It's one of your most important kit. Anyways, their question majority was, what's the difference between a 10 by 50 binocular, 8 by 42, 10 by 42, all the different configurations. And it got me thinking to do a quick video about this. I have a 12 by 50 Viper HD, and I have a 10 by 42 Diamondback Vortex binoculars. And the fact that they're Diamondback or Viper doesn't really matter, but what I want to show you here is explain this stuff is the first thing you should, this is the objective end of your binoculars. And as you can see, this is the 50 millimeter objective on the Vipers, and this is the 42 on the Diamondback. So the first thing you'll notice is that obviously the Diamondback, the 10 by 42s are 8 millimeters smaller. So in that, right away, you're gonna notice that there's a difference at the barrel end. And as you move down the binoculars, you'll see that the size difference is not too bad, but probably 15 to 20 millimeters longer on the 12 by 50s. And the reason for that is obviously the objective end is bigger and it needs a little bit more barrel space. As we move down the barrel to the ocular end of the binocular, this is where the magnification comes. This is 12 power and this is 10. And what that means is, so your eyes are 0. So if you get some binoculars 8 by 32, 8 by 42, or 10 exactly, what that is saying is it's 10 power. So it's 10 what your eyes would be without any magnification. So this is a 10 power and this is a 12 power. Now, the advantages of a 12 over a 10 over an 8 is, or an advantage would be, if you're looking at a specific object and you want to be as close to that object as you can with the best quality. Now, one disadvantage of the 12 over, say, the 10 is that your field of view is quite a bit shorter. So imagine if you were looking, say, at a deer standing in the field with your naked eye, and then you put up the 10 power, you'd be able to see that deer 10 times closer, except for you would lose 10 times of the environment around it. Now, if you're using the 12 power, it would even be more. So it would bring it 12 times closer than what your eyes would be out naked, but you would lose a lot. So it zeroes in on your object. So there's some advantages and some disadvantages. Now, one other question that people had about 10 by 42s, 10 by 50s is the why is there different models? So there's a 10 by 50 Vortex Razor, and then there's a Diamondback and stuff like that. And what it really comes down to is the insides and the makeup and the glass. And what I mean by that is a 12 by 50 and a 10 by 50, this uses more material, and the lenses are heavier and stuff like that to make up the item. Now, they also can do things like put plastic where on the insides, the makeup, or it could be magnesium, stuff like that. So the more material, good quality material, the more you're going to pay for your binoculars. Same with the glass. They may use, in some cheaper models, they may use not quite as clear glass or cut glass and stuff like that. So I don't want to get too technical about that, but that's really why they have different models for price ranges. And it all comes down to your application. If you want a really crisp, clear, awesome binocular, you might want to look at their premium qualities of any brand. Okay, so basically, and another thing I want to talk to you about is the exit pupil of the binocular. So what that means is, as light enters into the objective side, it goes down the barrel and it has to go through the innards of the binocular. I don't want to get too much into it. And then it exits out the exit pupil of the binocular, and that's what gives you light, which gives you your image. So if you have a 50 objective, obviously think of a big picture window in your room. The bigger the window, the more light it lets in. Same with a 50 objective or bigger. It will ideally collect more light, which travels down the barrel and goes out your exit pupil. So now more on the exit pupil is the bigger the binocular, so like a 12 by 50 will have a pretty substantial exit pupil. The 10 by 42s will have a smaller one. So what that means is in low light, so early morning, late night, or even in a dark forest or something like that, ideally a bigger objective will send more light down to the exit pupil. And so what happens with people's eyes is in normal light, they're around 2 to 3 millimeters your pupil size. And as it gets darker, your pupil starts to dilate or starts to get bigger. And that's where the exit pupil is super important, because the more light you send down there, as your pupil gets bigger, it's going to send more information to your eye. So if you have a 8 by 32, which would have a considerably smaller exit pupil than this, that means you may run into problems when it comes to seeing in those low light conditions. Now, during the day, when everybody's pupils are basically normal, the exit pupil on almost all binoculars will be roughly you won't notice the difference. You'll probably see clear with an 8 by 32 as a 15 by or a 12 by 50, but it's when it gets to low light. So that's really what that means. Now, there are some considerations to take in, like you can have a really high quality glass 10 by 42 that will collect light just as good as, say, a lower expensive 50 objective. So there are lots of factors in there, but at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. So what do I prefer? So I've got a pair of 12 by 50s because I shoot a lot of 3D. So I'm zooming in at the kill zone on the 3D target. So I want to have 12 power. So I want to bring that as close as I can. Now, if I was to use these in hunting, they could be a little bit problematic when I'm looking at something in the field, because my field of view now has shrunk so much that I really do have to pinpoint what I'm looking at. So a 10 by 42 might be a better option. It still has that 10 power, which you can zoom in on, or go to the next step, which is 8. So your field of view gets smaller. So 12, 10, and then 8. 8, you'd see lots of stuff around your target area. The problem is it's only 8 times closer to you. So I hope I didn't confuse you, but at the end of the day, it really comes down to your application and what you're going to do. Every manufacturer makes great binoculars. I love the Vortex brand, and I have the 10 by 42s, the 10 by 50s, and the 12 by 50s for all my different applications. But I hope this clarifies what happens when you're looking for binoculars. So at the end of the day, if you want a good all-around binocular, 8 by 42 or 10 by 42 is probably for everything. If you're bird watching, 8 for sure is definitely good. If you're hunting, 8 by 42 or 10 by 42. If you want to know more about Vortex binoculars, just go to Vortex website and check them out. Talk to you soon.